Hey MotoAmerica fans, this is Superbike rider Kyle Wyman. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel for more coverage, and also like or comment below.
It's time for round 6 of the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. From Brainerd International Raceway, it's motorcycle superbikes at Minnesota. Hello everyone, welcome to the Supersport Show, our first time at Brainerd in 17 years. We're getting ready for race action. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time champ Jason Pridmore. Now Jason, in Supersport, we know the standouts have been two incredibly fast riders.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've been watching some of the other guys get up to speed with them. We've seen Stefano Mesa. This weekend it looks like Rocco Landers has made that jump here at Brainerd. Track he obviously feels very comfortable with so far.
Yeah, but Sean Dillon Kelly has been the class of the field with the #1 plate Richie Escalante trying to chase him down. And Jason, this is last time at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca.
Yeah, we've just seen SDK make a big step mentally this year. He wants to lead every lap. If he gets attacked, he attacks right back. So he has really been dominant so far throughout the season, and that 31-point lead that he's got right now in the championship is an indicator of that.
For Richie Escalante, he tried to attack several times, but Jason, the word is that front-end chatter or some type of chatter has been plaguing the Kawasaki as of late as they continue to fight. But Sean Dillon Kelly and his Suzuki have definitely made a step inside the numbers as we take a look at our championship right now. 225 points. In the last couple rounds, Sean Dillon Kelly's just been dominating. This has really been the difference of the championship, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it's the consistency, but the consistency to win every weekend is what SDK has really done this year. That it was different than last, and Escalante has been struggling from race to race with different little problems.
In 6th place is Stefano Mesa, who was 3rd in this championship. Also looking at #4, Rocco Landers. So our two pit reporters had a chance to catch up with the #37, Stefano Mesa, and 97, Rocco Landers.
Greg, we've seen Stefano Mesa have success early on this season, but last round at Laguna Seca, things didn't go quite to plan. Stefano, how do you plan to get back on track here at Brainerd this weekend?
Yeah, Laguna was rough, to be honest. We came out there to have fun, and it wasn't really that much fun. We had a lot of troubles with the bikes and myself, you know. So since the other bike, I use it for club racing as well, it was maybe a little bit starting to get a little bit too beat up. So we went ahead and bought another bike and try and split the bikes now, one for club racing and one for MotoAmerica.
Well, it's not very often in all your years of experience that you can say this is a new track for you, but you haven't been here before. What are your expectations for this weekend?
Yeah, it's a new track for me. I didn't do the test day yesterday for financial support, but I mean, there's no expectations. We just got to go out there and have fun. Today's all about learning the track and trying to get a groove on, and we'll see what we can do, you know. I obviously want to be in the box. I'm doing a double duty this weekend as well, so hopefully I want to be in the box on both classes, and we're just having fun, and hopefully we'll get there, you know.
Well, Stefano, best of luck out there. Let's get over to Jamie Howe with Rocco Landers.
Hannah, for Rocco Landers, he's only 16 years old, but he is a 3-time MotoAmerica champion. But this season in Supersport, we've seen you scratching on the door to get into that top 3 positions. Now halfway through the year, how close do you feel like you guys are?
We made a big step at Laguna. We finally found what we think is a pretty good base setup. It's paying off pretty well this weekend. I've been working hard. I've been getting more focused. I've lost 12 pounds this year. I'm working. Hopefully gonna keep pushing, find some more power, keep riding, find more setup, and this weekend's going great. We're under a 10th off of P1 and we're P3, so keep going.
When you think about the progress that you've been able to make, what's been the biggest challenge you've overcome?
Really just figuring out setup and getting more focused and being able to stay in shape, because this bike you have to be much more in shape than you have to be for the junior gut bike. So I'm finally figuring that out, and it's finally coming, and results are starting to show up more and more and more.
All right, so Rocco Landers finding his way around Brainerd International Raceway. Jason, a new circuit for MotoAmerica this season.
Yeah, after 17 years, you can see constructed in '73. Turn 1 and turn 2 are extremely fast. Turn 2 is probably the fastest turn we see all season. From turns 3 to turn 6, you'll see a lot of passing opportunities for the guys. And then what is new to some of us, this whole new section from turn 7 all the way to turn 13, technical, slow, a little bit of a chicane in there as well. A lot of things will come down to that last turn, 12, 13, as you go under the bridge, and then you run to the checkered flag there, start-finish line.
A lot of comments about how much fun this racetrack is, but how raceable is it in the Supersport class? We're going to find out soon. What about this guy? Benjamin Smith, 5th in points with a couple podiums this season. He's looking to get another one here in Minnesota.
As the fans turn out here at Brainerd International Raceway, we take over for about 3.5 minutes here. Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden. Roger, thoughts before we get to this race? First time we've seen the Supersports in race trim. They'll get another chance tomorrow. Favorite has to be SDK, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just going off the practices and stuff, just how consistent he's been. And, you know, for the other guys, I think it's just not let Sean Dillon Kelly get away early in the race. Don't let him get in that early rhythm. And for a guy like Rocco Landers, I know he's talking about, you know, winning, but I think if he comes out of here with a podium, would be a great finish for him. Really what he needs to do, in my opinion, is get a really good start, hang on to, you know, Sean Dillon Kelly as long as possible, and Richie Escalante, and learn from those guys and just, you know, keep making those steps.
Because that's one thing we haven't really seen out of Rocco Landers is a good start, a top 2, a top 3 start. And oftentimes, because he hasn't been on that front row in qualifying, there's no excuses. You're on that front row. You've been fast. You've been, at times, the second fastest guy on the track. Can he get that start? I mean, he's going to have to do something different.
He's going to, you know, hopefully he can get that start. We've seen him get starts in other classes. But, you know, as you get through your career, starts are going to be more and more important because, you know, with the lap times being so close, you can't spot, you know, the leaders that much time at the early beginning of the race. So hopefully, you know, Rocco's been working hard. The team's working hard. They're all in on it. You know, they deserve a good finish. And you see him there's been fighting with some asthma, you know, the last couple of races, using his inhaler there before the start. And hopefully here, it seems like everything's been going pretty well for him.
One other thing with Rocco is doing some bike changes. I know some of the things they've done with that bike should actually help the start as well. He said he did a practice yesterday, practice start yesterday or the day before, and he said that thing was like a rocket ship. I said, well, make sure he doesn't loop out on the start, too, because maybe giving you a little more low-end grunt, it could happen. But Sean Dillon Kelly, about a half a second faster than the second fastest guy, Richie Escalante, Rocco, Kevin Olmedo been up there. But both Richie, Kevin Olmedo, have went down this week. That's not confidence inspiring, but when you're SDK, you're barely putting a tire wrong.
No, SDK hasn't made any mistakes. We've actually seen quite a few mistakes out of Richie Escalante this weekend, mainly all in one corner, turn 12. So hopefully he can get that cleaned up before the race. And, you know, we've seen Richie Escalante step up before. He's a champion. He wears the #1 plate for a reason. So, you know, if he can get a good start, he can definitely tag on to Sean Dillon Kelly. But, you know, we've seen all year, Sean hasn't made any mistakes.
Another guy to look for, Sam Lockoff. You see him in the background, the 44 there. He might be one to look for. Again, he's still third in championship points. Rocco Landers knocking on the door there. He had a bad Laguna Seca. He knocks that off, a fresh track, and get that groove going again, maybe up on the podium once again. Kevin Olmedo, one to always look for, having to get that bike ready. He went down yesterday at 92 miles an hour. That bike did a lot of damage, did a lot of work on that bike overnight to get it going. With Stefano Mesa, after coming off the track in the Stock 1000, he should know this track a little bit better and what it's doing better than anybody. Ben Smith started off late with some difficulties yesterday, but he's ready to go as well. Sean Dillon Kelly, Rocco Landers, Richie Escalante, they're on the front row. Who's going to get the start? Let's send it back to the guys next door.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Yeah, there's me heading to the races to Brainerd, Minnesota. A little look at how flat it can be in this part of the country. And a racetrack that is relatively flat too, Jason, as we take a look at Brainerd International Raceway for our 6th round of this 2021 championship. Let's take a look at the starting grid because we've got a little mix-up here, but Sean Dillon Kelly is going to be your pole sitter with Rocco Landers and Richie Escalante on the front row.
Then we have Lockoff, Olmedo, and Stefano Mesa should be starting from row 2, but he's going to have to go to the back of the grid because he missed the siding lap, unfortunately. So Mesa will be coming from the back. Not a bad track to be doing that from, to be honest with you, Greg, as far as the first 2 turns, 3 turns here. Mesa should be able to make up some time. A little further back, we're going to have Smith, Doyle, and Austin Miller. And then behind them will be Minster, Grant, and Nassani, as you can see on our screen here.
Yeah, not the optimal spot for Benjamin Smith back in row number 3, but on to row number 5. We have Soltis, Thermiotis, LaRoche, Alvar, Zaragoza, and Blackhall. All right, Jay, so 7 rows of competitors in this one. And like you're saying, back there, probably on spot number 20 is going to be the 37 of Mesa. Yeah, you can see him middle part of your screen back there with the white helmet shaking his head.
I'm interested in a couple things here. Number one, Escalante's got to try to do something, but how about Rocco Landers qualifying second? Tremendous job by him and the team as they get ready to go green here. Expect good things today from Rocco.
When the lights go on, revs are up. Now when they go off, we're going racing, so here we go. Sean Dillon Kelly on that M4X Star Suzuki with a good launch. Rocco Landers as well on that Yamaha with a good one. Fast section of Brainerd International Raceway. Heading through turn number 2 on the way to turn 3. And our first opportunity to get on the binders. Nice wide racetrack here. Makes for some good racing. And Landers up the inside. So Rocco Landers takes over the lead. Sean Dillon Kelly trying to go up the inside. Acceleration all about this one as they head into turn number 4. It's got to be Sean Dillon Kelly, and there goes the number 1 as well.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. You can see these guys mixing it up early. Nobody wants to let the number 40 of Sean Dillon Kelly get out front and run away with this. His times in practice, Greg, have been consistent, and they've been consistently fast at that. The only rider so far in the 600s to get into those minute 32 range. So SDK right now trying to set sail. You can see Escalante, who's had a rough weekend so far, doing everything he can to go with him.
Yeah, rough weekend. On Thursday, there was a Dunlop test day here and a couple motors expiring for them. A little tip-off during the course of the weekend as well for the number 1 plate, Escalante.
And it was a pretty innocent tip-off at that. After this right-hander here, they're coming into one of the slowest corners on the track, this very tight left, turn 12. He fell over here and somehow ended up, the bike just rolled over once and broke off both handlebars. So it was session lost for him. And now he's right well on the back here. Kevin Almeida also doing a tremendous job there running 4th. You can see Lockoff, and it looked like Ben Smith just a little further back. First lap, though, Escalante hasn't let SDK get away, and this is one of the few places that you'll go to, Greg, where you can actually feel a draft in a corner. This here, turn 2, is very, very fast. It's going to probably be 5th gear on these 600s, and then they're going to go back to 2nd for turn number 3.
Look for a moment that Escalante was trying to look up the inside, but Richie telling me earlier that with the front end chatter problems that they've been having, it's a matter of building confidence. Oh, and then the back lockoff was all kinds of sideways out of the saddle. But continuing on with Richie Escalante, it's a matter of having confidence, Jason, to be able to attack under braking when the front end is not completely planted and smooth on the ground.
Talked to him this morning, Greg, here just about an hour ago, and he said that he felt a lot more comfortable this morning. Said pace started to come together for him. You got to remember the amount of laps he's ran haven't been that many. He's lost quite a bit of track time. Even though we were able to run that Dunlop tire test on Thursday, he didn't get that many laps. So, and then obviously with the tip-off yesterday again, it's really hurt him as far as actual track time goes. You can see Rocco Landers very tight all the way through that big, long, kind of new section for some of us, turn 8.
Jason left side, look at the number 1 plate.
Yeah, it's a little bit bumpy over there, and these guys you can see them running over that paint, and he ended up missing it with his front wheel, but getting it onto the curbing with his rear wheel. That's why you saw that bike step out from him just a little bit.
Yeah, the Honos HVMC Racing entry of Richie Escalante trying to keep M4X Star Suzuki's Sean Dillon Kelly in sight.
And that first lap is a 33.7, and we know the number 40 here is capable of getting himself into the 32s. So right now it's allowing Escalante, and you can see how much you can really close up on somebody through that turn 2 area. Now he's in the outside. He's on the outside of SDK as they roll off here into turn 3. They're starting to gap those second group just a little bit with Landers Almeida getting in that fight for 3rd. Rocco's got a little tiny gap on the 16 of Kevin Almeida.
And Jason, in that corner, you can just see how Sean Dillon Kelly and that Suzuki just stay in a line. Keep those wheels in a line as he goes into the corner, and the sideways braking of Escalante.
Yeah, everything that SDK has done this year has just been incredible. As far as we've talked about his mental strength and how strong he has been at wanting to lead these races and not wanting to relinquish that first place position. But it's also bike setup. I know that him and his crew, Jeremy Toy and them, have worked very hard on making this young man as comfortable as he can. And when you do that, you get a lot of confidence. And that's what you have seen from him as the season has gone on.
Through the chicane, turn number 9 as we head to turn number 10. That's done. Now into 11, the right-hander.
And this turn here is kind of sneaks up on you, Greg. This is a very sharp left-hander. You're going to make a, these guys, some of them are doing a little short shift back to second. They're going to roll down through here. And this corner is a lot more off camber than you can tell on television. So you've got to control your entry speed really good there. Get that bike down to the curbing so that when you get it up off the edge of the tire, you can drive it towards the edge of the racetrack so that you're not on the edge of the tire with off camber trying to do the same thing.
Let's go down to Jamie with more on Sean Dillon Kelly.
Well, you mentioned his team led by Jeremy Toy, and one of the things that Jeremy said coming into this race today was that he and Sean Dillon Kelly share a similar trait in that they're able for Sean to get up to speed quickly with the bike, for Jeremy to land on a setup pretty quickly, but then they tend to overthink things because there's just extra lap time. And together what they've been able to do, and this is the key, is that they do this as a team, is they're able to then go back a little bit, fine tune, and that's what we see when by the time we get to the first race of the weekend is they've been able to fine tune coming into this race today. The only thing they're really working on was just the body positioning of Sean Dillon Kelly. There is so much confidence on this whole M4 XStar Suzuki team.
Yeah, and you can see it, Jason, but for a moment there, a couple of corners ago, it looked like Escalante had a bit of a thing.
Yeah, in the middle of turn 3, he either lost the front or got on the gas a little bit too hard, and you could see that the bike did, it almost looked like it bucked him up over the bars just a little bit. But the thing is that when you have this guy in front doing what he's doing, he's so happy with his bike, his team, and he's so consistently fast, it puts a lot of pressure on those that are chasing. So they're always having to ride over that edge just a little bit in order to keep up. Now, if Escalante is able to just kind of keep the rest of this lap perfect, and you're going to see they're going to come across the finish line here in a minute, and some might look at it and go, well, that's not much of a gap. Well, that's how this starts. You make a little mistake, that gap opens up. The guy behind will try to push harder, make another mistake. And you can see, Greg, that that's half a second when they came across the line. Now, let's see if he's able to get through turn 2 as SDK runs off the track out of 1 and almost brought Escalante with him. But that's going to help Richie a little bit as they make this run through turn 2 down to turn 3.
Jason, Sean might be trying to pull away, but Richie's confidence is at an all-time high this weekend. He doesn't feel like he's riding on the limit. The way that they've set up the bike this weekend, he really feels like he has room to push, and that helps his confidence immensely. Normally his bike has a lot of vibration. He was feeling even worse chatter here, but the team made some significant changes, making the bike just easier to ride, and he really enjoys the flat layout here.
Well, it's going to give him a lot of encouragement right now, Hannah, that he's able to close that gap back in. Still looking at Sean Dillon Kelly's lap time, 33.6. I know what he's capable of. I've been watching him and going out in morning practices, afternoon practice, and even yesterday qualifying. He gets up to speed immediately, and he does go a little bit quicker than this. So he might still have a little bit left in the tank with 12 to go. We're going to see. But one thing I do know for sure is he can run these lap times consistently, Greg, over and over and over.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is closing the gap because of that off-track miscue, dropping the rear wheel off into the dirt, and the number 19 down.
Ryan Alvar
trying to get back to his machine, and
looks like turn number 5, Greg, on the exit of 5 there. So we're going to keep an eye on these lap times, and you know we'll be able to tell a lot more. Some, you know, maybe about another 5-6 laps from now when they have some more time on their tires. Escalante goes 33.7 that lap through to run his personal best lap time, 34 flat for the leader. It won't be too much longer, I don't think, Greg, till you see that battle heat up here.
Yeah, I think Escalante is going to try to make a move pretty soon. Not that time, as you can see a couple bike lengths still between them. Fresh marks on the asphalt, Jason, coming through that corner. So Sean Dillon Kelly, M4 XStar Suzuki, holding off the advances of number 1 Richie Escalante and at Honus HVMC Racing Kawasaki. And it started to gap a little bit, and then SDK dropped the rear wheel off, closed things up. And now Escalante trying to find some,
Did you see that? That's from the accident that we just had. There's a bunch of dirt on the track, and Rocco Landers. I wonder if he has hit that. It looks like he didn't get far enough down the track to hit that dirt, but that is going to be the right-hander that we saw an incident here just now from Alvar. So this is going to be turn number 5. So Rocco Landers is down, looked a little perplexed about what had happened there. So we'll have to go back and see if this is going to be a tuck, a front end tuck, or if he got on the gas a little bit and maybe got flung off the inside of the bike, high-sided off the inside as Rocco goes over and tries to pick up his bike. That's going to give Almeida now third spot, but it looks like, is that Almeida?
It's Almeida as well.
Now as well.
Wow, what is going on as our front runners start to hit the deck?
Oh. Well, we have to have a look at see what's going on there. The Almeida looks like it's like turn 8, the carousel, the new part of the racetrack. Now these two guys are going to have a gigantic lead over third place, which should be Lockoff. Nope, it's Benjamin Smith now, third, but he's 8 seconds behind the leader right now. So these two have it all to themselves as we've lost third and fourth. Escalante is starting to set something up here as they go down into turn 3. He's starting to have a look on the inside of SDK as they go down there.
Yeah, that was closer than it was the last lap for Escalante. About 9.5 laps remaining in this Supersport race, so number 1.
This is turn 4, Greg. Now they're going to come through here. I'm going to look for a mark and see if we can see any big marks. If we see a mark kind of on the exit here, it's going to mean that Rocco might have lost the rear of the bike. I couldn't see it there, but that's where we had some problems, and you can see the debris on the racetrack. A lot of dirt still on the track.
Richie Escalante trying to find some clean air. But this is what SDK's been doing as of late, Jason. It's just controlling the pace and getting down to the apexes and closing off opportunities for anyone to attack him. It's just been a masterful performance as Sean Dillon Kelly on a 5 streak in podiums and 4 race wins in a row, 7 so far on the season. The only miscue was race 5 when these two went down at the same time in turn number 5 at Road America. But here at Brainerd International Raceway, everything going the way of Sean Dillon Kelly. Richie Escalante holding on. Fastest lap of the race at 33.6 on lap number 4. Here's the tail end of Rocco. I did see those marks.
That looks like it's a throttle. That's going to be just starting to open up the throttle, and it high-sided him off the inside of the bike. I don't think that that was necessarily a front-end crash, so we'll have to talk to him after this and see. So our 2 leaders now running in the 34s, low minute 34 range. Escalante's not close enough this time, it doesn't look like, to think about doing anything down into turn 3. It looks so close from our angle that he gets up behind SDK, but he's not quite close enough to try to do something. And you can see Escalante's, man, see, this is the thing. This is what SDK is really good at. He just keeps pounding out these laps. He doesn't know what's going on behind him. He doesn't care. He's watching his pit board. He's got a lot of grip, and that's what he's thinking about right now.
M4X Star Suzuki, Sean Dillon Kelly. Other than dropping that rear wheel off the racetrack, hasn't had many dramas that we've seen. But Richie Escalante still fighting as hard as he can. Now the gap back to third place. Is that going to be the 88 of Benjamin Smith, who's all by himself? Hannah, what's going on with the 88?
You know, Benjamin Smith has had some tough luck this weekend. He didn't get to come here, or he did get to come here after Road America, just on his practice bike to check it out, but they put a new engine in the bike Thursday night and had some problems with it. They missed QP1 Friday morning entirely due to engine issues. They're actually on their 4th engine of the weekend from his practice bike. So between engines, you know, a new ECU and big changes to the suspension, it's essentially an entirely new motorcycle. So he's been fighting that lost seat time, but he was really optimistic for this race, and it seems like maybe things are starting to finally go Ben Smith's way.
Yeah, and for Ben Smith, this could be his 3rd podium of the season. It'd be his third place finish. And we haven't seen that from Benjamin Smith since round number 5.
Well, to be honest with you, it's nice to see the 88 of Benjamin Smith get a little bit of luck. And I know that there's a couple guys that have tipped off in front of him, but he's done that as well in the past to hand some spots to some other people. So what he needs to do is just get this race under his belt, do all the laps he can so he can come in and tell his crew exactly what's going on. What do you have for us on Stefano, Jamie?
Well, let's put it into perspective. Stefano Mesa having to start at the rear of the grid for missing that siding lap. He was meant to start the race in 6th. He's now fought his way all the way up to 5th, but if he would have been able to start this race where he was meant to on the 2nd row, he would be in contention for a podium at this point after the fall off by Rocco Landers and Kevin Almeida. So he's going to really be kicking himself over this one. He was on pit lane, the bike was here, everything was ready to go. He just needed a couple more minutes of rest following his previous race, so he's going to be pretty upset at the end of this one.
Yeah, doing double duty in stock. 1,000 is Stefano Mesa, and yeah, Jamie, looking at those times, 34.6 is his fastest fastest of the race. And up ahead of him, a 34.4, 34.4 as well for Lockoff and Benjamin Smith. Had he been there on the rear wheels of those two riders, it definitely would have been a battle for third spot. But up front, it's still Sean Dylan Kelly leading Richie Escalante.
Yeah, and we got, what do we have, 8 laps to go, 7 laps by when they go by the flag this time, or go by the start-finish line right there. So in this turn here, Greg, this is on a 600 now. You know, we used to always talk about the fast turns 1 and 2 at Brainerd, and we don't use the old turn 1, but it's still, on these bikes, it's going to be 4th gear flat out, and turn 2 really isn't any different, obviously, than what it used to be. You're still coming in there with a ton of speed, and Escalante is doing everything he can right now as he pulls out of the draft as they go down into turn number 3. SDK is a little bit too strong there. This is where we saw Escalante earlier getting on the gas and spinning that Kawasaki up. So,
well, I mean, at this point, Jason, Racecraft would probably say what? Is there any need to attack right now if you're Richie Escalante and can close this gap and show Sean Dylan Kelly what you have? Is he holding on right now, or do you wait just till the late stages of this race?
Well, it's just a matter of how hard he's trying to hang on. You know, if he feels like he's got pace, he's going to want to get by. You don't want to give this guy any more confidence in front of you than he already has. So, but at this stage, it's going to be hard for him to get past. So it might be a last lap thing. You could see how wide the 40 goes around this big, long carousel corner. Escalante keeps it a little bit tighter initially. It swings him out wider towards the exit of that. But so far, I'm pretty impressed that he's been able to even keep SDK in sight. I thought that Sean might just run away with this race completely, and Escalante's done a nice job to keep it close.
Qualifying times are a 132.7. Right now we're rolling around in the 134.2 range for SDK. Last time by the stripe as they approach it one more time. So we'll click off this lap. A 134.1 for Kelly, 134.2 for Escalante. Benjamin Smith still back there in 3rd spot. Lockoff in 4th, Mesa in 5th. Liam Grant, Jarrett Nassani, Carl Sotis, Thermiotis, and Minster, your top 10. Seeing the exit of Dominic Doyle, Rocco Landers, Kevin Olmedo. Just been a very interesting race as Rocco Landers was looking for another podium for him in Supersport in his debut season. But for this guy, Sean Dylan Kelly. Now, Jason, when you rode without earplugs. When you have a competitor that's this close as Richie Escalante is to Sean Dylan Kelly, are you hearing what's going on behind you? Can you hear that this rider is right on your tail section?
Yeah, absolutely. You know that he's there. Plus, you can see your pit board, so you know when he's there the whole time. And when you see that, but he also knows how to ride with Richie. Richie and him have been riding together for the last couple of years this close together, so they know each other's idiosyncrasies pretty well, but it doesn't distract you so much when there's somebody behind you if you know who they are. And you know, these guys now, they go back and they really study the lap times with their teams and look at the sectors that they might be a little bit quicker than the other guys. You look there on the left-hand side of your screen, pretty simple to read that. 5 to go, 0.0, and leading the race. So, and he knows he's got the #1 right behind him. That's what that meant there. And but for Sean, he's, you know, Dylan Kelly, he's been in this position so many times. This is the spot he likes to be in.
So if you're new to MotoAmerica Supersport Racing, you saw that shot of the pit board as Escalante's foot comes off the peg. I'm not sure that was just a move, but that's the only information that these riders get. There's no onboard communication, so when they come by their pit board, their signal area, that's the information they'll get unless they turn around and look behind them, which is always not the most recommended course of action, but it happens.
These guys are so good, though. It doesn't hurt them to have a quick little glance in a spot that they would like to maybe look. Turn 3, there's usually a spot. We'll see a rider or two have a look behind, but you don't ever see this guy in front look behind very often. He trusts that team of his down there, and why wouldn't he? They're on an incredible streak right now, and he knows that there's somebody right behind him. And I think even when you have a weekend like this, when you see your main guy, your main competitor, having some struggles like the #1 of Escalante has had, you still kind of always got to expect that he's going to be there during the race. He's going to figure out a way to do things, and this is going to help the Escalante as well. The problem is, Greg, is he can't keep giving up these 5 points.
That was interesting. 2 corners ago, Escalante had been holding that corner a lot tighter, and that time he opened up the arc of turn number 8. Did Escalante, and in doing so, lost a couple of bike lengths.
Well, he's playing with things too. You know, he's having a look at different things that he wants to try to do here. And now this is interesting. You can see SDK's board looks like it's out maybe in a different spot. I can't tell, but you can see them getting ready to get Escalante's board out over here. 2 different spots, I believe, where we can use a pit board here at Brainerd. Kind of a unique thing that we don't have anywhere else. So Escalante's pit board isn't going to be anywhere near by where SDK's is. When you come through this turn, Greg, it's funny, when you're in second, right about here, you can really start to feel yourself pick up the draft with the rider in front of you. You see how much he closes up? That's the run that he's going to be looking for eventually, where I think that this is where it's going to happen. He's going to be looking to have a little bit of gap as they enter turn 2, close that gap up in the middle, and then use some of that draft to maybe try to get by and position himself to the inside of turn 3.
But this is the thing about Brainerd International Raceway. It's a very wide racetrack, which some of our European competitors have commented and saying that they like about it, but it also lends itself to a lot of attacks.
Yep.
So Richie Escalante, if he's going to be close enough to make a pass and try to take over first place, has got to really, well, he's sorting out the plan right now. How do you do it, and then how do you keep Sean Dillon Kelly behind you, Jay? Because you mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, SDK always fights back.
You can see he's doing what you had talked about a couple of laps ago, where he's having a look down the inside. So he's literally looking at turn 3. I've seen him have a look between turns 5 and 6 to try to think about doing something. All through here will be extremely difficult. Like even when you go through this right-hander, for as close as these 2 competitors are, it's going to be almost impossible to make a pass into here and make the corner. So you can see that it gets very hard to get into that corner deep, and then this is off camber.
You know, Jason, last year we saw a really dominant performance from Richie Escalante. This year things have gone a bit differently. You know, between his collarbone injury earlier this season and a broken foot before Laguna, Richie really does not like to make excuses for himself, but he's finally feeling 100%. And one of his strengths, I think, we'll definitely see here in the final laps is his ability to kind of balance his patience with aggression and knowing when and where to attack.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's a characteristic of Escalante that we've seen, and it also talks about the maturity of Escalante at 26 years of age, where Sean Dillon Kelly kicks it off at 19. Still a couple years away from legal drinking age is Sean Dillon Kelly.
But his racing IQ is sharp, and it's very high, and he's very, very solid, Greg, and it's been fun watching him in our series just continue to grow and get better and get stronger, and both these riders have really pushed themselves to those limits.
Laps winding down, opportunities starting to dwindle for Richie Escalante to make his bid for the lead. This is a total accordion race. It's not like Escalante is just sitting on the rear wheel of SDK the entire time, hounding him. Sean Dillon Kelly, without knowing it, has got some sections where he's really strong over the Kawasaki rider. So this is the section of track they're going to go through here. This is the pit straightaway into turn number 12, hard on the brakes.
A little further back, Greg, I've been watching this. Lockoff has been closing the gap on Ben Smith, and I think he's actually gotten through. So Sam Lockoff maybe made a mistake earlier because he was a long way behind Benjamin, and he's ran him down and passed him. And I'm looking at times. The number 44 there, he's still in the minute 34 range, which is what our leaders are doing up front. 34 flat, 34.4 for our first 2 riders that last lap by. The 44 before this lap ends at a 34.8, and on this lap here he goes 34.9. So tremendous effort here for the young Sam Lockoff as he's now pulling away, and he has a look over his shoulder to just check on that, but he's pulling away from Benjamin Smith now.
And it's the big picture of the overall championship that was on Sam Lockoff's mind just before this race. He sits 3rd right now, but he's only 7 points ahead of Benjamin Smith, who was back in the 5th position. So he needed to get around him. He said his big goal was just not to maximize any point loss. He wanted to really take advantage of this being a new track for everybody. It was level playing ground. He came here, he did the test day, so he had a little bit of experience. But he said, you know, I really expect to be in the 1st place by the time we get to the 2nd turn. That obviously didn't happen, but he feels really good about the way he's able to ride around here, and we see it at this end of the race.
So M4X Star Suzuki's Sam Lockoff, and this was the move that got him into 3rd place, JP.
Got through turn 2 really well, and you can see he gets up underneath Benjamin Smith as they roll into turn 3, makes that pass clean, and he sets sail at that stage. So Lockoff doing a tremendous job. These guys have 2 corners plus a lap to go, so they're going to get through this final turn 12, 13 complex here at Brainerd. And this is where Escalante is going to have to try to do something. He's going to have to try to get close enough. As you can see, SDK has that unusual look over his shoulder, and he sees the number 1 plate of Escalante still hounding him. This is where Escalante's got to do. He's got to get a good run down into here, get into turn 2 nicely, give himself that little bit of a gap. Now that gap will start to close as they exit turn 2, and he should be able to swing out to the right and try to make something happen, although he's not close enough again, Greg.
So Richie Escalante has had this race to study Sean Dillon Kelly and formulate a plan. Where is he going to make a move? Does he have confidence in the front end of his Honos HVMC Racing Kawasaki to attack Sean Dillon Kelly? SDK has been holding some very traditional lines. Doesn't look like SDK has been testing some tight stuff.
This would have been the next spot, and he's just not able to. I mean, he's just so solid. SDK is just so solid leading these races and putting his bike and making it wide. Now, this will be the next spot. If Escalante can kind of get on the left side here and then start to cut a little bit tighter arc around this corner, you can see he's having to go.
He's trying.
It's just
they're not quite
close enough.
There's that bump right mid-corner. Oh, that was so close. The corners are running out for Richie Escalante as Sean Dillon Kelly has put on such a great performance.
And this next place he's thinking about doing it, this tight left-hander, will be a very crazy place to try to do it. Let's see if Escalante can get close enough. He can't.
Sean Dillon Kelly with lap traffic getting out of the way, letting this race continue. It's the M4X Star Suzuki rider, Sean Dillon Kelly, accelerating on to the start-finish line, takes the checkered flag, and will win by 75 thousandths of a second and extend his win streak to 5. And M4X Star Suzuki Sam Lockoff on his way to bookend the podium for the Premier Suzuki team. The young South African in his rookie season will notch another podium. His second of the season.
Ben Smith comes home in 4th place.
Wow, Sean Dillon Kelly. So close, Escalante, and there's the 37 of Mesa, who comes across the line from dead last on the grid to take 5th place. Great job for Mesa, and for those that finished, he'll be credited with the 5th fastest lap of the race as well. The fastest lap of this race, Jason, a 33.6 for SDK on lap number 4. As you can see, right part of your screen, the lap progression, where the mid part of the race started to settle in to that rhythm.
It'll be interesting to have a chat with him just to see. I saw a bunch of laps from this guy in the low 33s, even the high 32s, and there wasn't just a couple of them. He did a bunch of them, I thought. And so it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about this race. Obviously, he didn't have any big problems. He ends up winning the race, collecting that other extra 5 points.
11 races in the books for Supersport so far this season, and 10 times Sean Dillon Kelly has stood on the podium. 2 second-place finishes, and now 8 race wins, extending that point lead. I mean, just doing it under all kinds of pressure from Richie Escalante. Cannot wait to hear what Sean Dillon Kelly has to say about this race. We'll have that for you when we get back to Minnesota.
Well, you saw Sean Dillon Kelly there tapping that Nicky Hayden replica helmet. We saw him at Laguna Seca tapping the 69 sign out there. And we see Rocco Landers now, who had, like, I believe it was the 3rd fastest lap of the race, having to get carried back into the paddock by Richie Escalante. Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden here with you. And Roger, that was a heck of a race. We were wondering, where could Richie do it? And come to find out, he couldn't, but I mean, it wasn't for lack of trying.
No, he definitely, that was a great ride by Richie Escalante. He really stepped up when it mattered, and it looked like there, you know, to me, the carousel looked like a spot that he was a little bit better, where he was kind of eyeballing up a pass there. Sean Dillon Kelly kind of runs a little bit of a wider line in the carousel, and you could see the last lap. He was really trying to make a move, but out of that carousel through that chicane, it looked like to me that Sean Dillon Kelly was a little quicker, and but Sean Dillon Kelly rode a great race, made no mistakes. That's really hard to do. Every time you come around, you see your pit board, you know, it says +0, and just keep doing the laps.
I think that carousel, the one thing about it, you hardly ever want to open up that inside line for somebody to go underneath you, but I don't think SDK wanted any part of that big bump and being on that inside line. I think he thought that was the one thing that could probably throw him down, and you know what? Even though he's a wider line, it still turned out to be a faster line.
And also, we've seen Escalante trying to get a run out of turn 5 a couple laps into turn 6, but just never really got close enough.
What about the run by Sam Lockoff? And I feel bad for Stefano Mesa. I have no idea why he missed that siding lap. He would finish 5th. But watching Sam Lockoff work his way back up through and catching and tracking down Ben Smith, he did everything he needed to do. And the rookie, I mean, he looks really good this year.
Yeah, and I mean, he was running 34s, a couple tenths off at the end of the race, just a couple tenths off what the leaders were doing. And that was a good ride by him, just kept his head down and was really consistent and, put in a really good ride. And that's what we've kind of seen out of him all year, just kind of, get stronger as the races go on, and definitely put in a really solid ride, and he should be really happy with that.
A big smile underneath that poofadoodle haircut, and 2 M4 XR Suzukis on the podium. Sandwiched in between is last year's national champion, Richie Escalante, on the Honos Ride HVMC Kawasaki. But Sean Dillon Kelly, as Greg pointed out, I mean, that's his 8th win. That's his 10th podium, and just keeps clicking them off. And Greg pointed it out. And Jason, you don't see Sean Dillon Kelly looking back and seeing what's behind him. He's focused on what's in front and depending on his pit board to tell him, what's happening behind.
Yeah, he usually just, the last lap he looked back to see to see how big of the gap it was, but also with the pit board being in different spots here at this track, maybe he just wanted to be sure where he was on that last lap, but he's definitely not a guy that looks around very much and just focuses on his own job.
Fresh and Lean sponsoring him. Again, that's that Nikki Hayden replica. The helmet representing the 69 here this weekend. The pearly white tee shining once again for SDK, and just looks so smooth out there. We saw some offs by we see DNFs by Nate Minster, Dominic Doyle, Rocco Landers, Kevin Olmedo, Ryan Alvar. Austin Miller didn't start, but I mean, it's a tough day for those guys, but Sean Dillon Kelly, more of the same. Let's send it back to Jason and Greg.
Today's Supersport coverage has been sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to Brainerd International Raceway here in Brainerd, Minnesota, as we had a spectacular Supersport race. 75 thousandths of a second victory. But Jay, let's take a look at our Geico save of the day. Left part of your screen, 44 Sam Lockoff. Yo, that's sideways.
Yeah, our podium finisher. He had a big one there, second lap. You can see Benjamin Smith was right up behind him. If you look in this shot, though, he's out there a little bit wide, gets out that dirty stuff. And man, that front tire touches the dirt there. It's gone. So what a tremendous save from Sam Lockoff.
Great job. Let's take a look at those results as Sean Dillon Kelly wins this one by 0.075 of a second. Lockoff a couple seconds ahead of Benjamin Smith, and Mesa coming from last on the grid to finishing in 5th. Let's get right down to Hannah with our winner, Sean Dillon Kelly.
Greg, the momentum continues for Sean Dillon Kelly. Another victory here this weekend, but Richie Escalante kept him honest all race long. Sean, for you, what is the greatest challenge when you know the guy that's right on your tail is going to do everything he can to try and get in front of you for this win?
Yeah, no, it was a tough race. Honestly, I was definitely expecting more of myself. We need to do some studying tonight because overall our pace has been better all weekend and just wasn't able to get it out there on track. I had a few moments and just didn't have the same sensations as we were expecting. So definitely expecting more of myself, but we're gonna do the homework and come back stronger tomorrow. But overall, it was good. Led the entire time and just try to be as consistent as I could. I didn't know that it was Richie. I was actually expecting it to be Rocco because he's been quick all weekend, but props on Richie to be right there. I think we just, we're doing the right things, but we just need to keep on making steps. But overall, thank you to my whole M4XR Suzuki team, all my guys for working so hard and always believing in me. I think we're in the right path, so we're going to keep on going. Huge thank you to Rai for making me run this lid. I think you all love it just as much as me. Special weekend for me to debut this helmet for Nikki and for the entire Hayden family. Yesterday was his 40th birthday, which is double the special. So overall, I just want to finish off with sending off, condolences to the entire Ugo Mian family, who little 14-year-old who passed away last weekend in Aragon. So, this is unfortunately the darkest side of our sport, but we're going to keep on fighting. I'm going to have it in my heart forever, along with, Jason, Andreas, and Nikki. So, going to keep on fighting. We're going to come back stronger tomorrow.
Congrats, Sean. Guys.
All right, class act and a good look at that reset button. Nikki helmet that Rise bringing back to the public for you to buy. And in the debut, the re-debut, I guess, in the United States, Sean Dylan Kelly takes that helmet to a victory.
Yeah, it looks great. And, you know, just talking and hearing what he said, I think he knows he has a little bit extra pace. So it'll be interesting to see when he comes out tomorrow.
Let's get right down to Jamie with our second place finisher.
Greg, well, Sean Dylan Kelly thinks he has homework to do. This is the 5th consecutive second-place finish of the season for Richie Escalante. You rode behind, you raced behind SDK the whole race. What can you do overnight to improve your result tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure, very difficult. You know, it's Thursday in the tune-up test. Start step by step. I have a couple problems in my bike, so not too much laps. Yesterday I feel a little bit better. Today make a big stake in my bike. I feel a little bit better. You know, I need to find still something. Maybe I changed my number 1 for the number 2 more second places. So I'm not happy right now. For sure, thanks to my Honor Racing, Hudson Valley, Grace Kawasaki to give me the best bike possible. So I think I know where to improve for tomorrow to try to win. And yeah, thanks to SGC, Vericos, Fresh Aline to support me. Yeah, can't wait for the warm-up and race 2.
Can't change that number 1 yet. You're the defending champ for a reason. Greg?
Yeah, he's definitely the defending champ for a reason, and they are digging deep, trying to figure out how to close this down on Sean Dylan Kelly. And both teams going to be doing their homework tonight, especially with SDK indicating to us that he didn't have quite the feel.
Yeah, I can tell by the pace that, you know, he wanted low 33s and probably a couple high 32s there on a new tire.
Third place finisher with Hannah.
Well, Greg, Sam Lockoff is rounding out the podium. It's a great day for M4Xer Suzuki. Tell us a little bit about how you were able to find some time to run down Ben and ultimately overtake him for this podium spot.
Yeah, you know, my pace wasn't too quick, but it was really consistent. I ran off in the carousel because I thought there was oil on the right side of my tire because Rocco and Almeida went down. But yeah, there's not much to say besides I just want to thank M4Xer Suzuki, and I want to thank Arai, RST, and Alpine Stars.
Congratulations, Sam Lockoff. Guys.
All right, a good race for him, and he'll be definitely thinking about that. But a good recovery for Lockoff to chase down Benjamin Smith and put himself on the podium again this season.
Yeah, well, now you know what the problem was, and very smart kid that did use his head there and then put his head back down to catch Benjamin Smith and get himself on the podium again. Good experience for him.
Moments away from these riders getting on the podium. We'll step away. We'll have more coming at you from Brainerd International Raceway after this.
I see reset on the top of that helmet. Sean Dylan Kelly didn't need to reset, or maybe he's like that shampoo bottle, Roger Hayden. You just wash, rinse, repeat. Win, practice, repeat. I mean, he just keeps doing it week after week.
Yeah, he's just on a heck of a roll right now, and, you know, just hasn't really made too many mistakes, hasn't had too many struggles. That was a, you know, great race by Richie Escalante to hang in there, but also Sean Dylan Kelly didn't really have the pace that he had in the practices. He even mentioned it on the podium. He was actually a little bit quicker in practice and qualifying, so I think that might have helped Richie hang in there. But Sean is on a roll right now. He's not making many mistakes, and you can tell just how confident he's doing, and you know, just stretching out that points lead.
See 3 different countries represented on that victory podium as Michael Hill's down there doing the presentation for the fans on site. I want to remind everybody here he will have his party at the podium this afternoon at 6 o'clock local time. South Africa's Sam Lockoff, though, really impressed by the Suzuki pilot in his first year in the Supersport class. And again, P.J. Jacobson working with him. It doesn't hurt having a teammate like Sean Dylan Kelly. It's good to have a champion in your corner. Your first year in Supersport, who were your teammates? Can you remember?
Yeah, it was Jake Zimke.
Okay, he's pretty good one.
Yeah, that was a good teammate. And, you know, also for Sam Lockoff, for your first year, getting to go going on a really experienced team like M4, that has to be huge. You know, that's probably the team that's been around in Supersport for the longest, so that has to help as well to not only be a rookie, but go around and be with a really smart team with a bunch of good group of guys and kind of help you speed up that learning curve. And also, you know, like he said, he's got P.J. Jacobson, he's got practice bikes and really working hard at it, and it's paying off.
We didn't see what happened to Dominic Doyle, but, I mean, last year in the juniors, it was Doyle, Landers, and Lockoff, usually always in that top 3. Well, Doyle a DNF, Landers a DNF, and it's consistently Lockoff that's staying up there near the top. He's putting himself in position for a podium, but he's also, even on his bad weeks, he's still keeping it upright.
Yeah, and, you know, always right there around the top 5. Laguna definitely wasn't Sam Lockoff's better showing, but you know, besides that, he's always around the top 5 or close to the podium, and just really been consistent. And each weekend, just seems like he learns a little bit more. And you know, he's kind of been almost having the best season of the 3 guys that moved up from Junior Cup.
Ben Smith is going to finish the 88, going to put himself in 4th after today. That's going to be good. After I didn't know he went through 4 engines. I asked him about, you know, being behind without that practice stuff. But I mean, 4 engines, come on now.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I'm just surprised they have that many engines to throw at it. But luckily for him, he setting out the first practice yesterday and having all the issues they have to be pretty happy to walk away with the top 5. Maybe a little disappointed to lose that podium at the end, but you know, top 4, move on.
Top 5 by Stefano Mesa. What if he would have started in his original starting position? Liam Grant in 6. Carl Sotis, another finish. Good finish for him. Naseni, the best of the Altus Motorsports duo. Thermiotis and CJ LaRoche. He only hits dingers and he gets top 10s. There's Stefano Mesa. I'd sure like to figure out why he didn't make that sighting lap, because I think he could have been there fighting for the podium. Let's send it back to Jason and Greg next door.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of MotoAmerica Supersport as Sean Dylan Kelly gets to enjoy celebration on top of the podium with his teammate offset to his left. And a good job by SDK. A close race, but a lot to definitely think about. There's a lot of stories in this paddock, including, well, one more that Jamie has. Jamie, what you got for us?
Well, Stefano Mesa had to sit by and watch that podium celebration as he had to start from the back of the field, ended up racing all the way through. You finished 5th, but what led to you having to start at the back? Why'd you miss that sighting lap?
To be honest, Jamie, I'm not sure. We went out at 60 seconds, and I think maybe we're too far down pit row and didn't really make it, you know. I've gotten plenty of speeding tickets of pit lane, so I don't really want to speed through there, you know. Can't really afford another ticket, so I think that was it. I don't know why they made me start from the back. I still made the sighting lap, you know, so I guess it is what it is. I'm going to go talk to race director, see what he can tell me, and just go from there, you know.
Regardless of what led to it, you were still able to fight through the pack. You have a second race tomorrow. Knowing now that you have a bike that you can race with, what can you do overnight to get ready for the second race?
Yeah, you know, to be honest, I was exhausted after that 1,000 race, but we just went out there and turned some laps. Bike felt way better than it's ever felt all weekend, so we're going to get some sleep and hopefully try and do something tomorrow.
Stefano Mesa, he finished 5th today, but he started last, Greg.
Yeah, and that stock 1,000 race he participated in today, he doesn't have to do it tomorrow. So for tomorrow's activities for Mesa and his family and crew, it's just one Supersport race left.
Absolutely, you can get some rest and, you know, maybe make some changes to that bike of the things that he learned over time. And always loved Stefano for a good quote. Doesn't want to get any speeding tickets. Can't blame him there. And he's always talking about, you know, the budget that he runs on, and he can't afford that kind of stuff. So just happy to see him get through that race, get a top 5, a little attrition in front of him, but he'll come back tomorrow and he'll be fighting for that podium.
Thank you so much.
All right, big selfie right to the gram, and that means we're going to get to the highlights. Let's check out race number 1. If you're just joining us, this is how it unfolded.
You see here, Greg, this big start. First time we've seen bikes start from that spot here in MotoAmerica. Rocco Landers took a peek up underneath SDK early into turn 3, only to get kind of passed right back by SDK and Escalante. So at the completion of lap 1, we had Landers and Almeida close in tow. These two were staying close in tow as we see all of the time. SDK runs off the track in the fastest spot, one of the fastest spots of the track, out of turn 1 there. And you can see that dust on the ground. That was from an accident the lap prior. And then Rocco Landers gets caught out in the same corner, turn 5. Still not exactly sure what happened there. But on this same lap, after seeing Rocco do that, Almeida goes and throws it down the road. So that made this battle for third really interesting. We heard Lockoff say that he ran a little bit wide and turned in on one of the opening laps, fearing there could be some oil. He fought back to finish third, but it was these two guys again, and another 5 points in his pocket towards the championship for Sean Dylan Kelly.
What a performance to hold off the rest of the field. And here's a look at the point standing. So SDK gets another 5 points over Richie Escalante. And looks like Sam Lockoff and Benjamin Smith locked in their battle, and Benjamin Smith was poised early on to take some points away from Lockoff, but can't quite close the deal after all the dramas we heard about what's going on with Benjamin Smith and his crew this weekend. But nonetheless, a great run at it Now, Jason, as we scroll through the point standings, what are you thinking for tomorrow?
Well, I think the big thing is right now is that this race today was one that I felt like Escalante had to try to win. He's had a little bit of luck, like we've said, it hasn't been the best this weekend. But now that point gap's starting to get big, and we haven't heard STK talk about that, but it's up to 36 points now. And what do we have, Greg? We got about 6-7 races to go, I think. So when you look at it, that gap's getting to be bigger. Anything can happen in racing. But man, the number 40 is just on such a roll right now. He's so consistent. Him and his team are working so well together, and he's always the guy setting the pace.
Yeah, and the variety of racetracks we have coming up are they're totally different.
Yeah.
You know, right here at Brainerd International Raceway, we have a flat course, then we go to Pittsburgh up and down. And then look, Jay, they're working on a corner after the fact. So this is where...
Yeah, this looks like where Rocco went down. I know Almeida went down a couple turns later, but this is going to be in the turn 5 area. So they're looking at some stuff here, and that's possibly on the track.
Yeah, so it looks like they're just making sure that everything's tip-top shape, because we have more race action coming at you from Brainerd International Raceway today. So that was on the way outside of the racetrack. That's not where you're going to see the race line necessarily, but it might be an impact of Rocco going down and maybe just a little bit of fluid on.
But there was a lot of bikes that went through that corner afterwards, Greg. I mean, that happened on the second lap. So yeah.
There's Dan Argano. So that's part of really what the FIM AMA are here to do: inspect the track after each race and make sure it's safe and ready to roll. So Supersport race number 1 is in the books, and Sean Dillon Kelly with an impressive victory in this one. The question is, what's going to happen tomorrow? There's going to be plenty of race action tomorrow, because these teams are going to go back, get their homework done, and close the gap. And what about Sam Lockoff? Is he going to make a step tomorrow? Any race, it can happen. That's the time when we're going to be on the air. We expect to see you here for race 2. For Hanalopa, Jamie Howe, and Jason Primore, I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for joining us for Supersport race number 1. We'll see you tomorrow right here.
Come on,